Is this thing really the king of budget handhelds? There was a time where the Miyoo Mini and Mini Plus were very hard to get, and people would pay on upwards of $80 just to get one. Now I of course don't endorse that kind of price hike or scalping, but this was actually way more capable than I initially expected. And only now am I getting the idea of why people were paying that kind of price. If you watched the last retro review on the channel, you'll know that I already reviewed the RG35XX from Anbernick. This one is from me.
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
And the Plus model is its direct competition. I'll save the complete comparison for that next video, which will come at a later date, so be sure to check that out in the description when it's up. But today, I'm focusing on what the Miyoo Mini Plus can do, and what I like, dislike, and who it's for, as fast as possible as always. Starting off with the specs, this has a 3.5-inch IPS display, all your expected inputs like ABXY, Start Select, L1, L2, R1, R2, and of course menu, power, volume buttons, as well as a microphone jack, and a single micro SD card slot, as well as what we'd expect today, a USB-C charging port. There's also a removable battery and a USB-C to USB-A cable that's included in the box, along with a micro SD card reader, which was a nice surprise, and can definitely come in handy if you want to transfer over any ROMs. And speaking of ROMs, if you buy the 64GB model from GEEKBUYING, who by the way sent this to me for review, you'll get all of these ROMs already pre-installed. And that's definitely a nice plus if you want to boot up and get going. Their website lists the number of ROMs at a whopping 25,966 ROMs. Like, what am I gonna do with all those games? In seriousness, there are probably a bunch of duplicates on there, but I'm sure it's a good number of ROMs and way more than you'll have time to actually play. And like with the RG35XX, unfortunately for reasons, I'm sure, certain titles are not in there. So keep that in mind if you're new to the emulation space and are looking to get a certain character's mustachioed face on the screen. And so if you're literally expecting everything to just be there and work, it might not be there, much like my wallet on launch day of a new handheld. Good thing I don't buy INEO devices anymore. Something I like about the Miyoo Mini Plus is how clean the display blends into the casing of the device, and really just how capable and portable it is. The controls seem to be pretty responsive as well, with fairly reasonable travel on the buttons, especially for the size of the whole package. Another thing I like about the device is how bright the screen gets and the colors on the display itself. Before handling any of these retro handhelds, I would definitely have scoffed at the idea of a 3.5-inch display. And I would have said they're just way too small, with way too low of a resolution for me to actually care about them. So I'm happy to say I'm wrong about that. And because I usually review larger and more expensive devices with 16:9 or 16:10 aspect ratios, I'm not used to seeing clean bezels like these for retro emulation. Definitely nice to look at. The speakers are also pretty serviceable. Here, have a listen. And a couple more positive things that I also liked were the USB-C charging port, of course, and removable battery. The battery in particular is important if you plan to hold on to this device for a long time and want to easily swap something in for a fix. One nifty little feature that's also on the Miyoo Mini Plus is Wi-Fi, which honestly I'll say I didn't really utilize, as it was pretty easy for me to just pop out the micro SD card to transfer files that way. But as far as I know, you can also do wireless co-op using Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, I don't have another device to test this feature, but if that's important to you, this may be the game changer for you. And now onto my dislikes. The stock OS is definitely lacking, and while OnionOS is way more feature-packed and even allows you to play Nintendo DS games through the Drastic emulator, it doesn't come stock, at least not with this device. As far as I know, whatever outlet you buy this from, it's going to disappoint a lot of people that you can't get OnionOS out of the box. So if you're not willing to tinker or get your hands slightly dirty, that may be a disappointing thing. Another thing I'm not a big fan of this device on is the height. Now, this could totally just be a me thing and my grip style or hand size, but I found it a little bit uncomfortable to play for more than, say, 30 minutes or so without my hands cramping up a little. And that was especially true if I needed to use the back or shoulder buttons more often. Now, the biggest problem to me personally is that with the Miyoo Mini Plus is the lack of video output. So there's no way to connect this thing to a TV or anything like that for some family or couch co-op, which is truly unfortunate. But that, again, is a personal preference. Otherwise, this device is really capable, actually surprisingly capable given the CPU that's inside. But really, that's it. None of these devices are perfect after all, so who is this for? Let's cover that now. For about $50 to $60, I can see why this thing was so popular at launch. At the time of making this video, while there are several competitors out there like the RG35XX, if you're willing to put in just a little elbow grease to get OnionOS onto the device and maybe Drastic Emulator and Nintendo DS ROMs, you'll have a way better time with this handheld. And it's really not that difficult, it just takes a little time to get that up. So would I recommend this device today? It's hard to say because so much competition is out there in this price range, which is super competitive. If you want the out-of-the-box experience that fully utilizes this device and don't want to do any homework, maybe you need to shop around a little bit. But if you like what you see and none of my dislikes really bothered you, I say go for it. You will be happy with your purchase, I think. And if you do that, do check out the links in the description and maybe pick one up from GeekBuying. The link is affiliated, so you are supporting the channel with the purchase. Thanks, and why not check out these XR glasses I reviewed the other day?
GG.